Just think about it. What if the energy you spend comparing yourself to others, you actually use that to create something really unique in what you stand for? So that would be, instead of sitting and scrolling through social media and then beating yourself up because you're not further along, you take all that time and energy and you channel that actually into your own innovation, into discovering what's really truly yours to bring to this world.
Welcome to The Way of the Muse, a podcast for women who want to create richness in every area of their lives, from business and career to lifestyle, relationships, family, purpose, and fulfillment. I'm Gigi Sage.
And I'm McKenna Sage. We're a mother-daughter coaching team, and combined, we've spent over 4 decades helping people create their best and most fully expressed lives. If you're ready to step into your bigger dreams with ease, fun, and flow, you're in the right place. Let's get into the episode.
Hello and welcome, amazing people. I'm Gigi Sage. This is The Way of the Muse. If you're new to the podcast, welcome. So happy to have you here. And if you're returning, we so appreciate you being here and getting value out of our different episodes. Today I'm on my own. McKenna's done a few on her own previously. I just returned from 2 weeks vacation, which was amazing. I was in South America. And before I left, McKenna said, I think you should really take off the full 2 weeks. And I was like, yeah, whatever. And I thought it would work. And the truth is I didn't work at all. And it was so much fun. I had an amazing trip with some women. We went to Argentina and to Uruguay and really came back refreshed. So again, that goes back to my original podcast, When Women Relax, we become deeply wise, right? When we deeply relax, we become wise. And so in those moments, I often, when I travel like that and I really let go, I see things. And so this topic came to me, even though it's a topic we have talked about before on the show, there's more to it. So I wanted to share a little bit more from my own experience. And it's a topic that, oh my gosh, in my 38 years of coaching and training and traveling the world, it's one that comes up so much. And so I just think we can't get enough of different ways to assist people to move through this, and especially these days. And so our topic today is on the power of authentic creation, and stop comparing, start innovating. And I know innovation was such a hot topic 20 years ago, right? But still, innovation is so important in our lives and in our careers. Of course, we're inundated with so much information and amazing information out in the world. It's amazing. And now we have ChatGPT. I mean, everything is at our fingertips. But I still fully believe that comparison is one of the biggest barriers to creativity. And what happens is when we are always looking at what other people are doing, we're trying to measure up. And I see this in my clients. What it does sometimes is it paralyzes them. I often see that the clients, they actually get stuck. And what happens is they start chasing some formula they've seen on how to be successful. And then within a few weeks, they've lost connection to what they love to do and the way they want to bring their ideas to market. So, I like to put this question out there. Just think about it. What if the energy you spend comparing yourself to others, you actually use that to create something really unique in what you stand for? So that would be, instead of sitting and scrolling through social media and then beating yourself up because you're not further along, you take all that time and energy and you channel that actually into your own innovation, into discovering what's really truly yours to bring to this world. And even if you're a successful business owner and you already, have had success and you're in there going for it, doesn't matter. You have to keep on innovating, because what happens if you don't is you get stale, right? And you get boring and you get bored. That's the other thing. So comparison keeps us looking outward and distracting us from that inner work where we need to actually ponder what we love doing. What is so unique about us? And you can ask even your friends and family that, what do you find about me that's truly unique? And what product or idea have you always wanted to bring to the market? Also, the problem with comparison is it really slows us down, And like I said earlier, sometimes it really stops us altogether. We just get like, everything's already out there. I don't need to do anything. What I have doesn't matter. And so what it does is it creates a self-doubt spiral, which, I, again, hear this so much, and where we might think, I'm not as good as them, or what's the point of even trying? And I see this often with women who are starting their businesses, and also with men too. It happens with them. So this mindset, like I said, can be so paralyzing because it sometimes can feel almost impossible to move forward. And when you do manage to create something, what happens is then we might second guess ourselves. It doesn't feel quite, authentic to us. And then it can even feel like almost a watered down version of someone else's work. And I know some of you are listening to this have experienced this, and you can also even see and sense this in the market, right? There's so much great marketing out there these days, but sometimes when you actually then go and work with the person, they don't have that depth, or they haven't really had the experience enough in the topic that they're sharing. Now, let me say too, there are so many great coaches out there, so many great thought leaders out there. But again, the ones that you see that stand and stay are the ones that keep on creating from their inner work. I created my work through action and through also time and reflection about what I wanted to create or what I felt really that I saw that I love doing. It was through trial and error and through being, so much time in the training room in my early years and witnessing what was challenging people. I've talked about this before. I would really see through my clients, oh, they're having so many issues with this. And then I would really look and see my gifts and how could I develop something that would support their journey. The more I did this, the more I saw. And the interesting thing is the more I became myself. So the truth is I never longed to really train workshops or longed to lead retreats. And the first workshop I did was the first time I've ever even heard of a workshop before. And I never heard of anyone leading retreats. All I did is as I started working with people, I kind of followed that next right action that was presented. Before long, what happened is I knew so much and I had something to express that I had to get in front of a room to express it. But again, it wasn't that I was longing to be there. In fact, it was so difficult for me. And still to this day, naturally, I'm not somebody that wants to get up and speak and things like that. But when I do it, it's what I absolutely love doing. And it's part of my gift. I wouldn't say speaking, but I would say training. I would say get up and conducting. And so I had to get in front of a room. So comparison isn't the only option. I want to tell you, there's another way to approach those moments, the ones that allow you to step out of the trap, and reclaim your creativity. And it's hard these days because, like I said, there's so much. We have social media. People are on it all the time. It is the way we market, right? It is the way we get seen. It's a blessing. Oh my gosh, we can touch the world through all these platforms where when I started, there was none of this. You had to go person to person. And so it's a blessing and is also sometimes a curse, right? So there are 3 steps to shift out of this comparison into creativity. And one of them is to really pause and reflect what is triggering you when you start comparing yourself. When you find yourself comparing, is it highlighting something that you really admire and you wish you had? So instead of letting this spiral into self-doubt, see it as an opportunity to go, okay, this is what I admire about this person. And from my experience with people, if you really admire something about someone, that is in you as well. And so the question might be, how do I develop this, or how do I bring this out more? Do I just need to create something? And like I said, go into action and try it and see if it works. And then also, what are your strengths and values? And then reconnect with your own unique voice. Step back. Sometimes that's just spending some time journaling, maybe meditating or brainstorming. Do something that you really love, walking the beach, and reconnect with what makes you you. What excites you? What do you love to create and explore? And often comparison happens, I see, when we've lost touch with our own passions, maybe, and we're looking in that outward direction all the time because we don't feel fulfilled somehow. So I call this time reconnecting with myself. And when I start to feel really off center and that I'm looking at everybody else in the world instead of connecting with who I am and what I have to share, that's when I stop everything and I get away from all the noise of the world. And I always say, I have to remember who I am. And I do that through silly ways. I even do that through sitting and organizing in my home. I set up a rhythm and I sit and I do things and simple minded, get out of my mind. Like I said, if you have an opportunity, I walk the beach, I walk the park until I start to remember who I am and get back connected to myself. And also take action from a state of curiosity, not competition. Instead of trying to match what others are doing, lean into curiosity. Ask yourself, what would happen if I approached my business or this new project this way? Let your unique perspective guide you, even if it feels like it's unconventional. There's nothing wrong with that. There's so many unconventional things in the world today. I always do this. If I see something and I feel that get triggered in me, I would say, I'd really admire what they're doing. What would I do differently? How would I do that in such a way that that's unique to me and I would experience and share my voice? What moves me is another awesome way to look at it. What do I get moved by? Because often there's curiosity there. And if it moves you, it moves someone else too. And where do I come alive? When I see something or I talk about a topic, where is it where, for me, aliveness is everything. Where's those moments where I feel that I'm talking about something and I feel like, wow, I feel really inspired here. Maybe that's something that you could create a project around, right? So when you shift your focus away from comparison toward your own potential, you'll be amazed at what you can create. You will start to innovate. And so what I like to do is share 3 stories that show how being authentic to who you are can bring in your innovation. So one of them is a client of mine that was trying to grow her business, and she was really getting overwhelmed by all the advice about being everywhere. Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, all the different marketing platforms. And nothing really felt right. Facebook in particular was a real struggle for her. She kept on struggling, but she was still, she had to do something to get out there and be present online and start to let people know she was there. So as I watched her, try the different platforms, I started to notice something. When she turned her focus to Instagram, something clicked. And it was because she is very beautiful, very creative. And in many ways, I would tell her she's like an artist of life and of living. And when she shared this on Instagram through her pictures, her beauty, the way she lived life, it created curiosity. And so when I saw this, I told her I thought she should drop all the other platforms and just focus on Instagram for a while and see if she enjoyed it. It's something that she really wanted to continue. And Instagram actually allowed her natural curiosity to shine. Her posts were these visually stunning posts, and they reflected who she really was. And so by leaning into that authenticity, because it was so authentic, you could see when her post showed up, you could see her work started to gain attention then, because it was her, and we can see that. We all see that when somebody's reflecting really who they are over time is amazing. And of course, it took a year, 2 years, 3 years. She got sponsorships. She had incredible opportunities show up for her. And her business became fun because she was building it in a way that felt really true to her. And so if you think about this, if she'd stuck to trying to do what everyone else was doing over time, she probably would have burned out. And I see this happen with so many people because they just can't keep up, and it's not really authentic to what they want to share and who they are. So instead, what she did, she really embraced her unique strengths. And then what happened is she became very innovative in the way she showed up online. She stood out from everybody else. So I love that story because, again, I work with a lot of people, and that story reflects something of paying attention to those areas where you can see it resonates, when you feel and sense it resonates for you, and then it becomes fun. So also this idea of following what's really authentic, resonates deeply with my own story, because back in the late 1980s, in my early part of my career, I was just a few years into training and coaching and new to running a business. And from the beginning, I listened closely because my mentor told me to get into my workshops and see what do clients want, that I would see it through working with people. And honestly, there was no one else doing this, so I had no one to copy. And I had this passion as I started leading my workshops and doing it. I started noticing that I had this passion for like fashion and beauty, relaxation, massages, creativity. And I thought, if I love this so much, then surely other women would like this too, because I was working with women at that time. And so I had the idea of bringing women to Maui, Hawaii, because I was living there at that time, because 2 of my kids were born there, and bringing them there and doing like a week retreat in Maui. Who didn't want to come to Maui, right? And I called my first one the Essential Woman, which eventually became Maui Modeling. And then it became Arts of a Woman, which I still teach every few years. I taught it actually during COVID was the last time. And at the time, again, retreats weren't common. I'd never heard of a retreat, especially not one that incorporated business and personal growth. But I trusted my instincts. I just did it. I went into action. I talked to my clients. I saw who was interested, and women flew out there and were so excited. I brought women together in a space where they could actually step away from their everyday lives, relax. They could focus on their business in a way that felt so joyful and rejuvenating. And they got to be with other women, like-minded women. We walked the beaches of Maui. We got massages. We did fashion shows. We did so many different things through all the years when I did this on Maui. And those retreats became the foundation of something so much bigger. Today, retreats are a huge part of the industry. You see it. But back then, it started with me listening to what felt alive for me and for my clients. So it came out of an innovation of what I wanted and what I saw other people wanted, and then also seeing where I lived, and that, oh my gosh, wouldn't people love to come and experience this? And then the last story I want to share is another incredible example is Michael Singer, the author of The Surrender Experiment. And I love his story. First of all, his book, The Untethered Soul, and I think he has a newer book out that's come out in the last few years. And if you haven't read it, it's a fantastic book about how to be mindful, how to train your mind. And he spent years meditating and doing inner work because that's where his curiosity brought him. He wasn't sitting around comparing himself to anyone else or chasing after success. he in his book talks about how he just kind of followed his path of what brought him alive in this inner work that he was so fascinated by. So his story is so fascinating because in 1978, Michael Singer went to a Radio Shack, and he was captivated when he came across his personal computer. And despite he had no prior experience with computers, but he felt this strong pull to learn. So right there is that curiosity, and he followed that, right? He felt that pull and he went for it. So he purchased the computer, and then he talks about he stayed up dedicated late nights to teaching himself programming. And then he created his first project, which was an accounting system for his construction company. And then what happened is word got around in his local area that he had this new accounting software. And so other businesses started asking him, could he create custom software for them? So after he created and developed this accounting software, he started to receive requests from local medical practices for kind of similar systems. And this is the moment where innovation comes in. Of course, his first moment was innovation, but also innovation with market need. So he created the Medical Manager, a software that transformed medical practice management. This success led to the founding of a company that became a leader in medical software solutions. He was one of the first medical software. And the fascinating thing that happened and how he evolved was in 2002, WebMD actually acquired Medical Manager for approximately $5 billion. Isn't that fascinating? And he continued to work for WebMD until 2005. So in that, here he was meditating, living on basically a farm in Florida, and he started a construction business, but he never could have imagined that he would end up here. But in this story, this is why it's such a beautiful representation. He followed his curiosity and he continued to innovate, and he listened to what the market needed. So the lesson in all these stories is clear. When you stop comparing yourself to others, you will make room for your curiosity, your creativity, and your innovation. Comparison drains our energy, and it actually just distracts us from what is possible. But when you go out there and you focus on your strengths and you listen to what brings you alive, feel what brings you alive, and you create something so truly unique to you, then that's when your innovation comes alive. So thank you so much for listening. And I hope you take this out and stop that comparing completely and start innovating in your business and life. Thank you for being here.
That's our episode for today, but let's not make it the end of our love story. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast and think of some women in your life you'd love to share it with. And if you want to learn more about our events and programs, visit wayofthemuse.com. See you next time.